Thank you. I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, City Administrator Rashad Young, CFO DeWitt, for your leadership during this time, and also those who work on your staff, because I know you don't do it alone. I do want to say that the economic effects of this pandemic on FY 2020 has been significant and require a revised FY 2020 budget that addresses the revenue shortfall. Some of these changes include, as you know, 189 million in reducing in agency expenditures, also shifting 214 million spending of federal funds. I'm pleased with the structure of this budget, considering the crisis we're in and the amount of time we had to respond to it. But I think we can go a little further. I'm also calling on the federal government to do more. We must be strategic in making investments in this budget so we can spend more on as we project the income securities of our residents. I was initially concerned about DC jobs being cut and given to contractors. I want to thank the mayor for ensuring that we are very careful about how we preserve our employees of the District of Columbia. I want to thank you for that. We live in a city every day where people of Ward 8 and Ward 7 confront the reality that we are considered less valued. The data has been crystal clear. Most telling is the death rates of COVID-19. And before even the COVID-19 came, incomes were already falling far below households in DC. DC poor families were among the poorest in major cities before COVID-19. Income inequalities in DC has remained one of the highest among large cities for nearly a decade. And before COVID-19, we had an increase in rates of homelessness and housing insecurities in DC. And COVID-19 has simply exacerbated that. Our budget must proactively address the major critical investments in each sector, such as healthcare, rental assistance, employment, to meet the needs of our residents. I really wanted to touch on the equity in our city. I think that the dispersion between black and whites in DC as relates to income inequalities, also education, is widening day by day. I was disheartened to see that we are moving the DC Infrastructure Academy from Ward 8. And I heard you, Mayor Bow, to talk about there was the issue in retrofitting that center and all in funding. I do want to note there were $19 million that was allocated towards DC Infrastructure Academy, and which was taken out the budget that the residents, including myself of Ward 8, fought to get back in the budget, and we didn't spend all that money on retrofitting Wilkerson. So there was money there to do a new center, but we just did the one in Wilkerson. So we're going to fight to keep that in Ward 8, partly because I've been walking in the community with Ernst Cisco, Hayward Donaldson in early February, March, to get residents not prepared for jobs, but prepared for careers. And so that's disheartening to find out. I also want to know what's going to happen with the Malcolm X Opportunity Center, because there was a number of organizations like Woodland Tigers was in there. They had a bartending class that was in there. Alabama Avenue CDC, Far Southeast Family Student Collaborative was there. Step Africa was there. In the Congress Heights and Congress Park community, which desperately need those services. I'm happy that we're getting bars in Ward 8, but I'm concerned about what's going to happen with those already existing programs there in that facility. We also am excited about the $1.8 million to keep Excel as a site in Ward 8. I think that's a plus to the budget. The budget also maintains funding for a new hospital at St. Elizabeth East Campus, which I know Councilmember Gray is happy about. Well, we do need extensive care and wraparound services for our residents. While the aforementioned efforts are commendable, the budget as presented is not sufficient to meet the needs of people in Ward 7 and 8. And I think we can go a step further. I want to thank you all for a number of things done to ensure that we have a balanced budget. But I think we can do more during this crisis to ensure that we can save lives of those residents east of the Anacostia River. I had a few questions I asked during my statement. If you all can answer that, it would be greatly.
Yeah, thank you, Council Member. Just on the Malcolm X Opportunity Center, our intention here is to work with those organizations who are in that facility now. We know that is a bit of a hub, if you will, for assets and anchors in the community. And so we're not starting construction immediately. Construction for the new school would occur in the spring of 2021. So we have some time to work with Woodland Tigers, with the other organizations to make sure that they can still continue those services at a different location. So we'll be engaging with them and, of course, with you and stakeholders as we sort of figure out where in fact they're going to be.
Oh, what about the DC Infrastructure Academy?
In terms of the Infrastructure Academy, I just amplified what the mayor's comments were about how we're looking at that facility. We did spend money to retrofit Wilkinson, but it really hasn't been the ideal location to build out the Infrastructure Academy in the manner in which we would like. For example, a critical part of the program that really prepares people for the utility-based industry is the practical experience and building having the necessary space, for example, to put the outdoor poles, to have an underground sort of simulated experience where individuals would go underground to work on infrastructure and utility equipment. Wilkinson was less than ideal for that kind of activity, and so we think that the move to Spingarn gives us more flexibility in terms of space and land for what is a critical component of that training aspect.
Councilmember Trayon White, there'll be another round, Councilmember White, but you're over your time.
All right,
we're going to start the second round, 5 minutes with the mayor, and then remember we have 2 more rounds after that.